Hi everybody, my name is Ryan and I am the Laser Noob with a PSA public service announcement just for you. So the next several videos that I'm going to be doing are going to be all on the Atomstack A5 M50 Pro. So we're going to take this thing and we're going to start off with some basic cuts, and we're going to do all the way up to some really some advanced stuff, well, advanced for me, and we're going to see how this thing stacks up. See what I did there? So if you happen to be watching these videos and you see something that you like, check out the links in the description below. You'll find a link for the Atomstack A5 M50 Pro, a link to their website with some other great stuff from Atomstack. So with that, let's get to the next video. Hi everybody, my name is Ryan and I am the Laser Noob. So a while back I was contacted by some folks from Atomstack Official, want me to test one of their lasers and do a video on it. So some time went by and I hadn't heard back from them, but today I get home from work, lo and behold, in the mail, I have a box from Atomstack. So today what we're gonna do is we're going to do a whole unboxing video on this. We're gonna take it out of the box piece by piece, kind of inspect everything, make sure there's no dents or damage to anything obvious, and then we're gonna start putting it together. So with that, let's go ahead and get this thing out of this box, put together, and then maybe we might even get to do a test run. Let's get to work. Okay, so the first thing I noticed opening up the box, and I'm not trying to compare this to any other laser, one of the things I noticed was that they send you a stainless steel backer sheet to do your cutting on. Now, X-Tool does not just send you that sheet. I mean, it's something you have to order extra, okay? So that's nice. It clearly says peel the backer off. There's only backer on one side. The other side's stainless. It's ready to go. You can leave the backer on that side, take it off later. I mean, it's just a piece of stainless. And if people would stop texting me, would be great. So anyway, that's a nice thing, you know, you have that. Take our foam out here and see if I can get that to stay. All right, so upon first glance, everything looks good. I mean, the package wasn't crushed or anything like that when FedEx delivered it. But I always like to take a look, see, you know, if anything has dents anywhere or damage to anything. So here's one of our bars. This bar is going to be at the actual back of the laser. The laser will move this way. That's that one. I have a flexible cord here, HDMI. Printer cord, comes with a printer cord. Now one thing I did notice about this when I was looking at the website is that it has a touch display. So the HDMI cord actually plugs into that touch display. So we'll see how that all works. More foam. Everything's packed real good. This is a package. Okay, so they've got a couple of things in here. You got some test materials. You got some little business card sized pieces of basswood. Looks like some acrylic squares right here. And then there's a little flash drive and some belts and some other tools, all in the same package. It comes with a little wrench. Allen wrenches are all in there. And it looks like a little lens cleaning cloth right here. So comes with that. Here's our power supply. Nothing fancy about that. Just a power supply. A little brush. Not sure why, but yeah, there's a little brush. Silica. Always throw that away so the dog doesn't get it. And we come up here. Here is our wiring harness. Looks like we have an emergency stop button on our wiring harness, as well as looks like we have some Wi-Fi capability with this. It's got a little Wi-Fi antenna here. You can see that behind the yellow tag. The X tool comes with that too, although I've never used it. It's got a push button on off. What I like, a little button for reset. USB cord plugs in here, you know, your printer cable, and then your power also plugs in here. Here is our laser module. So we'll open this up. So one thing I noticed different about this thing is with the X tool, it has a little screw on the side. The original one I had just has a little thumb screw that you unscrew it, raise or lower your laser, and then screw it back in. I have seen a lot of people that are having issues with that stripping. And the threads on that are very fine. If you can see this, this is a much thicker actual machine screw bolt with the head, and this is how you're going to make your height adjustments. You're going to adjust it and then tighten this thing, but it is much thicker, and it seems like it's going to be a little bit sturdier than the one that comes with the original X tool. Yeah, we'll see on that. So anyway, this is, I need my old man, I need my grandpa glasses. So it is a 5-watt output. It's the same wavelength as the X tool because it is still a blue diode. But yeah, not much difference in power or anything there between the X tool and the Atomstack 5-watt. Then we have our gantry. Ton of foam. This thing's packed really well. So here's our gantry that our laser is going to move back and forth on, this way and this way. It's solid. The little crossbar is already put in here for the belt drive, which I like that. You don't have to mess with adjusting that. It's already in. Rollers are all in good shape. We've got our motor on the back with our plug-in. And let's see here. And we have, this is going to be one of our side rails. So we got a side, we got the Atomstack. This goes in the back of the laser. Here's our side rail. We'll have another side rail on the other side, and then the front piece. Here's another side rail. We've got a plug in here. I do like that the rails have measurements on them. That's going to be pretty handy. Of course, it's all in millimeters. So if you're used to using millimeters like I have used, because all these lasers are from China, all the software, you know, is set up for millimeter. I've just been using millimeters for everything. So there's that guy. More foam. And then here is our front rail. So we have our back rail, our front rail, and then of course our side rails. Got one more thing in here is our power cord. It's just a regular PC power cord. There's nothing fancy about it. And I hate how it's not focusing on the camera. Yeah, so nothing fancy, just a straight US power cord. You can get it at any computer store if it breaks, or Walmart has them, so on and so forth. And these, I believe, are going to be our feet for the laser. These little guys. Now, the big difference with Atomstack, looking at these lasers on their website, and then of course with the X tool has the risers that you can buy. These just have square feet, so I haven't really done a whole lot of research into, if they make something that you can just add to it and make it taller. I have a feeling we're going to have to do some blocks if we want to go taller, to do taller materials, which is fine. But then we got to also, at the same time, we're going to have to figure out, if we add blocks, how are we going to keep that laser square? Because when we do our spoil board, we're going to engrave a graph on there with all our lines and all that, so we can square stuff up, and we want our laser to be square on that at all times. So I need to be able to take that laser off, move it around wherever, and put it back. And when I put it back, it needs to be in the exact same spot like I've done with my X tool. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to look into. But that's a leg, that's a leg, that's a leg. I am only seeing 3 legs, but I may be missing something. Well, that is everything out of the package. It's only got 3 slots, and there's definitely nothing else left in the packaging. But yeah, 3 slots, 3 legs. So we'll see how this works out. It was packaged good. All right, so with that, let's go ahead. I'm gonna clean the table off. I've actually already had this table built for this laser a couple of weeks ago, because I was expecting this thing much sooner. But I've already did this extension table onto my other table. I'm gonna clean all this packing off, get this box out of here, get all the tools and everything that came with it spread out, and the belts. And then we're gonna go ahead and, with the instruction book, which is in English, thank goodness. Let's hope their translation is a little bit better than Xbox's was, or X tool was. But yeah, so we're gonna get all that out, get it all spread out, and start putting this thing together and see how easy this thing is to get going. Okay, so all unboxed, this is everything that came in the box with the Atomstack laser. So this is the A5 M50 Pro version. So we have our instruction manual. We have our stainless backer for cutting. We have our power supply. We have our 5-watt laser module. We have a cleaning cloth. We have a set of screws right here for installation. There's 2 sets of screws in here for installation. It is clearly labeled with how many pieces of which one, which is nice. Then over here, we have end covers, T-nuts, another set of screws, and a belt. This is our control module right here. Here is our touch screen. We have a brush, we have zip ties for our wiring, we have 3 different Allen wrenches and a crescent wrench or an open end wrench, and here we have our 3 legs. So I was really kind of worried. I was like, man, they only sent 3 legs with this thing, but this controller right here actually goes up on this corner, I believe, and takes the place of a leg. So that's why I believe it only has 3 legs, but we're gonna find out here before too long. So anyway, then we have our power cord, we have our HDMI cord, we have our printer cord. With this one I will not use. I have like a 10-footer that I'm gonna use for this, because I may not necessarily want my laptop right next to the laser, and this is only like 4 foot long, it's short. And then some test material. 3 pieces of basswood, business card size, 1 piece of clear acrylic, business card sized, and then 3 of these little black pieces of I'm assuming is acrylic or plastic, with little keychain holes in them, so you can make, I guess, keychains. So I'm not too worried about the test material at this point in time. But that is the whole thing unboxed, and now we're going to start putting it together. We're going to open up the manual. Yes, I am a man, and I still read the instructions. So we're going to open up the instructions. We're going to follow them step by step. We're going to get all this set up exactly how it's supposed to be according to that manual right there, and see how it goes from there. Okay, so here we go. We got everything cleared off and cleared away. We have our little tool set that came with it, with our 8 and 10 millimeter open end wrench, 10 millimeters on one side, 8 millimeters on the other. We got our 3 Allen wrenches, large, medium, and small, that it comes with. So the first thing we're going to do, step 1, is we're going to take these outside rails and we're going to screw them into the front and the back rails. Okay, so with those, we are using the M525, and it's nice because it says step 1 M525. So, and it's 8 pieces. So 2 on this corner, 2 on that corner, 2 on that corner, 2 on this corner. Nice and easy, right? Now the only thing that I'm not really liking about that is that on this one rail, this little guy right here, this is actually on the bottom. So when I go to screw that in, it's going to be resting on that, and it's got a little push button on it. I'm not sure what that's for just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of the foam that it came with, and I'm going to set that down here. And so when I turn this over and screw it in, it's resting on that foam and not on this board. I'm just trying to protect everything real nice. So we're just going to move some stuff out of the way real quick. Get our tools out of the way. And then down here on the bottom, so when I flip this over, that'll set on that. There you go. The rest is easy. So here we go. So step 1, here's our 8 screws. Dump those out right there. Okay, so here's our 8 screws. We're going to take the largest of the Allen wrenches that they have sent. That's the size of those screws right there. So we will take this. There's no up and down on this one. It's the exact same either way we put it in, as long as one of the slots is on top. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that screwed in. Now, one tip I will let you guys know, get one started, do not tighten it all the way. Get your next one in there. And what I like to do when I'm putting stuff together like this is I will get them snug, but not super tight, because a lot of times you're going to find that you need just a little bit of play because the machine work is off, and it's not Atomstack. I mean, it's stuff that in the industry that I've been in, HVAC, happens all the time. It just doesn't line up. So I'm just gonna screw it in, but I got a little wiggle to it. Then I'm gonna come over to this side. I'm gonna turn that over. This one has the chip down with the push button and all my measurements on top. So, I mean, this is pretty simple to put together so far. I'm gonna get that one started. I will get the second one started. And now those are both started, I'll get them snug. A little too tight. Back that back off. Snug up the other one. Just want to make sure I leave enough for just a little bit of play. So if it gets tight to where it doesn't turn anymore easily, I just back it off about 3/4 of a turn, and now I've got some play. 2 more screws, we go to our back side. Get that started by hand. Put our second one in. Now, at any point, if you are putting these together and you're putting the screw in and the screw starts to get like real tight right away, stop. Back that screw out. You're cross-threading it and you can mess up the threads, and then you're in a world of trouble. So if it's going in, you start screwing it and it just immediately is starting to get tight and you're only in like a 1/4 inch or something, it's cross-threaded. So just back it back out, try and put it in again until it goes in nice and smooth. So we'll get that snug, get the other one snug. So there you go again. I've got a little bit of play and I've got 2 screws left. So we'll take this, turn it. By not tightening this also leaves me room where I can spread this apart a little bit. So I can lift it, I can move it back and forth, up and down. That way I can see that screw hole right here. I mean, this is dark, it's black, it's hard to see. So that way I can get that screw hole right there and I can line it up with my screw nice and easy. I can put my second one in. If you've made everything tight right off the bat, you won't be able to do that. And sometimes you're gonna have a hard time trying to find that screw hole. So we've got that in. Now I've got all 8 screws in and started. I can just go ahead and tighten them. So I can get them tight enough like this. If you need to, you turn it, use the short end, get some more leverage on there and tighten it, but don't try and over tighten it. Once it is just a little bit past snug, that's all you need. What's gonna happen is most likely you'll end up stripping either the screw out or the end of this little cheap Allen wrench that everybody sends you with everything. They're very, very cheap. So just be careful. If you have your own set of Allen wrenches, I would suggest you use those just to avoid that. But now I'm just gonna get it snug and go a little bit extra, just a little bit. And then the same thing on this side. Now you see the whole time I'm turning it, that chip is still sitting on this foam. I'm making sure I'm moving the foam at the same time. That's snug. That's snug. There we go. All right, that's snug. Now I'll just give it a little bit of extra on this last one. So now this thing is all together nice and tight. No play anywhere. So that's about perfect. And I'm still gonna use this foam pad. I don't like that. I don't like that when you set this up, they're having you set it on this little chip, you know, this plug-in with the button on it. I don't like that. otherwise, I mean, it seems it's very sturdy up to this point. So step 2, what we're going to do is we are going to take this guy right here, and it says the guide rail passes through the middle of the 3 rollers. Loosen the distance between the upper and lower guide wheels appropriately. Okay, so it's looking like this guy just slides right on. So let's lift that up. We're going to turn this around a little bit. That's on. Okay, so it does go on. It just rolls on. You guys can see that this upper and this lower channel, the 2 wheels on the top go in that, and then the one wheel on the bottom goes in the bottom channel. One thing I did notice though is that this side very easily moves. This side does not move as easy. It's not, this side very wiggly. This side is not wiggly. It actually moves the whole thing. So this side is tighter than this side. So let's figure out WTF with that. But at this point, we are still going to use this foam because I'm still going to be end up setting on that chip. Okay, so we got that. One thing I don't like about these instructions is it's saying step 1, step 2, step 3, but it's only showing pictures. So if you see, I mean, step 1 is easy to follow. All you're doing is putting in 8 screws, you know, into the frame. I mean, that's pretty easy. Then you get to step 2, and it just shows pictures. There's no instructions anywhere other than what I just read, which is talking about the wheels going in the grooves, which is the guide rail passes through the middle of the 3 rollers, loosen the distance between the upper, blah, 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 blah. But it's not saying, hey, here's take number 3. These are the legs, obviously. Okay, I can tell that those are the legs, but not everybody may know what those are. You know, I just happen to see the shape of them. So right now, for step 2, now that I've got the rollers on there, the gantry is now I'm going to take the 3 legs and the controller, and I'm going to mount those to the frame. So if you're confused about how step 2, that's what it is. The gantry, we pulled the gantry on, okay, and then we're going to take the 3 legs and the controller, and we're going to screw those on. The controller screws on with the M5 6. So let's see, 2, 4, 6. We got 8 screws here, so let's see what's going on. So step 2, here's our package for step 2. So we have M5 14s with 7 pieces and M5 6. So M5 is the size, 6 is the length, 1 piece. Okay. So we're going to put those right here on this foam. And we need 2, 4, 6, 7 of the 14s, so it works out. So we got 7 of the M5 14s and 1 of the M5 by 6. The one of the M5 by 6 actually is going to go on the controller over here somewhere. So let's go ahead and put these, our feet, we're going to get those feet and we're going to put those on. So we need number 3s, and let's make sure, so we're still using with these our largest of our Allen wrenches. So we're going to take that. This is the angle it's going to go on. So the foam is going on the bottom. That's your foot. If you can see, there's a little piece of foam on there. So that's the bottom. That's what sets down on the wood table or whatever table you have. So we're going to take that. There are 2 screws inside this groove along this rail. There's 2 screw holes here, and there's 1 screw hole here and 1 screw hole here. This is where the shortest of the screws is going to go, is right there. So we're going to take that, put that in, hopefully get it started. Same thing, if it's tight when you're starting it, that means you're cross threading it, back it back out, start again. All right, and these ones we can go ahead and just tighten. We're not worried. Once both of them are in, just tighten them. We don't need to worry about play on this. Now I'm going to take the controller. I'm going in the top hole. I'm using one of the long screws on the right side of it. That's the M5 by 14. Move that tag out of the way. Now I'm going to take that short screw, the M5 by 6. That's going to go right here. It's going to screw into the end of the rail over here. And that is, like I thought, acting as our 4th leg. So now I'm not concerned. That little chip is up here off the ground. I can go ahead and I can take that foam out of the way. I'm not so stressed about messing that little chip up now. So now we're going to do the same thing we did here with this leg, and we're going to do the back 2 legs. So just like this one in the back is going to be this one, this way, and on the other side, it's actually going to flip and go that way. So let's go ahead and take that. We're going to stand this up, and I'm going to just kind of hold it at an angle so it's not resting on anything, just so you guys can hopefully see. We're going to take that, if I can stop being butterfingers today, we're going to get 1 screw started. That started. Now we're going to do our 2nd screw. If you can start it by hand, great. If not, just use the Allen wrench. They're both in. I can just go ahead and snug them. Please remember not to over tighten anything. All right. So now we're going to take our last leg and our last 2 screws. Start it by hand. That's good, it's still loose. Get that screw in, and now we can just tighten it. And be done. Bam, that's down. Now, one thing I'm not liking is I know that this table is flat and square, but this laser is not square. I don't know if you can see that. So what I may need to do is I may need to loosen up these screws that are holding the rail in, and try and get it leveled and retighten those. But we will do that a little bit later. We're going to continue on with go ahead and put the whole thing together. I can do that at any point and loosen these screws, make sure that it's level and flush with my table. So we've got that all put together, and then we're going to take, so step 3 says tighten the T-nut and cut off the excess belt. All right. It does give you, if you can see, a little picture here of number 3. So let's see how this is going to work out. Okay, so now step 3. So unlike the X tool where you have a continuous belt, these belts are just long. All right. So you have 2 belts and 2 ends. So with this, what they're wanting you to do is on that top groove, this top rail, you're gonna feed that belt in, you're gonna go under this wheel, pull it up, go over the cog on the drive shaft, back down and under the second wheel and out, all right? Once you do that, you take these T-nuts, that is these little guys, all right? So you take these, you put them in and turn them so they're narrower on one side than the other. You put them into the groove and then you turn them. That locks it in the groove, and then you tighten it on top of that belt. All right, so then if you need to tighten the belt, you just loosen it, pull the end of the belt a little bit, tighten it up, screw the screw back in without having to take this out, and bam, your belt's tight. So the only thing I see, it's going to be a pain in the butt trying to get in that groove to get that belt up and then over the drive shaft cog and then back down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to roll this back off the back side. I'm going to feed this in. I'm going to pull it out the other end while that back wheel is off. Go up over the cog, under the other wheel, and then I can pull that on both sides. Then I can pull the gantry back down, and I tried doing it real quick. I shut off. I tried taking like one of the small Allen wrenches and trying to dig it out of there. That was a pain in the butt. So here, that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to go here. I'm going to feed that through, up over, and then I'm going to go under that other wheel. Now I'm gonna leave that just like that for a minute. I'm gonna do this other side the exact same way. So you're putting this in with the ribbed side, the cogged, this is a cogged belt. You're putting that cogged side down. It's gonna go under the wheel and then up and over the cog on the gantry, the drive shaft. That way the cogs on the drive shaft will match up with the cogs on the belt to move. If you do it with the flat side, you know, it's not going to do it. So cog side down. We're going to feed that in. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to go over the cog on the drive shaft and then under that wheel. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to hold those belts on the bottoms of those wheels, make sure they lined up, and then I'm just going to pull the gantry back on. Okay, so now I have my two belts. Got this one here, which I actually want to pull up a little bit, or pull back a little bit so it's hanging off the edge. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So now I have that there. I got belt on both ends here, extra, and I got belt hanging off the back side, which is extra. So once it's all in and it's tight, then we can cut that after our T-nuts are in and everything's all set. So let's go ahead and move this back. And I'm going to take, and I'm just going to pull it a little bit. Basically what I'm trying to do right now is make sure that I have no slack on these belts. So I'm going to take both ends, front and back, and I'm just going to give it a little tug. That belt is tight. Okay, so now I can take my little T-nuts, again, this is the largest Allen wrench for the little T-nuts. I'm going to loosen that screw just a little bit. I don't want it to fall out. And I got to try and slide that thing in there. And I'm going right flush with this edge. I'm not trying to put it in or anything. I want it right flush with that edge. And then I'm going to tighten it down. Now, no matter what I do, I can pull on that belt and it's not going anywhere. Okay? Now I'm going to take another T-nut. I'm going to pull that backside, making sure that belt is still tight. I'm going to put this T-nut on the backside, flush with that back edge, just like I did the front. It's nice snug fit to get it in there correctly. And then I'm just going to tighten it down. Please remember, do not over tighten. I cannot say that enough. So now I can pull on this end of the excess and nothing happens. I can pull on this end of the excess, nothing happens. My belt is fairly tight. I have a tiny little bit of play in there. Now I'm going to take the T-nut. On this one, the only difference here is that there's no end over here where we've mounted that controller. So the controller is actually blocking it. So if I pull it, well, it is not wanting to pull very well. I'm not sure what's going on there. So if I put that, so that's what I'm just going to leave this little loop right here sticking out, and I'm going to have that belt right at the very end, and I'm going to see if I can get a T-nut in there. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it in there and then twist it because the controller is already on. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this loose. I'm not liking that. I'm going to loosen this one. And I'm going to take this little short screw out. This was the M56, the little tiny one. I'm going to take that out. Now I've got a little room where I can get my T-nut in with that belt on the end of it. I'm going to try and hold that belt in place. We'll get that T-nut pushed in there. I just want to make sure that T-nut is actually on that belt, but it seems to be pushing that belt off. So let's go ahead and take this whole controller off. I don't like that. So we're just going to take that controller off. I'm going to take my T-nut back out. And I'm going to take the belt. I'm going to pull it out a little bit. The belts are long, so they're meant to be cut. So I'm just going to have a little bit sitting out here. Put my T-nut in there. Get it nice and flush. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten that. All right, now I can pull this back side, pull that slack out. Before I do that, I'm still being very careful with this little chip down here. But now I have my extra, take my Milwaukee knife. I'm gonna cut that little extra off because now I'm gonna mount that controller back on there. I just want that little piece off. So now I'll take my controller and we can actually put that back on. So we'll take the little M5 by 6, put that back in here. Couple of turns to make sure it's started. Okay. Then our M5 by 14. Put that back in. And snug. And snug here. All right, that's good. Now I can take my last T-nut. I got a tiny little bit of play. I'm not super duper tight. About the same as the other side. Slide that T-nut through on the back. Again, flush with the rail. And tighten it up. There we go. Okay, so now that that's done, we're gonna go through, we're gonna take these little excess pieces of the belt, we're gonna cut those off the back side and this front side, and then it has these 3 little caps that actually plug in right there. So let's go ahead and get that cut off. And then, just like this, we'll push those little caps in. And yeah, I mean, those aren't 100% necessary, but those are sharp angles right there. And if you're moving around, you can cut your hand or whatever. It's more of a little safety thing. Get this one put on. Go ahead and spin it so we can see. Okay, that one's on. And then our last one. And that's on. Turn it back around. Now, our laser module and our cords, it looks like, is all that's left. So let's go ahead and continue on with our instructions. And it says the next thing to do is we're going to go ahead and get that laser module attached. Okay, so step 4, we're talking about putting our laser module onto the gantry. Okay, now you'll notice on the gantry there are 3 sets of holes, okay, larger holes, and what you can basically do is they have some screws in the back side with some lock nuts, And depending on the height of your material that you're trying to engrave, you may not, so basically this is like having the legs on the X tool, the risers on the X tool, okay? So if I'm cutting something very high, this is where it's at right now, is at its highest point. Okay, now I can adjust my laser up or down in my module on that and tighten the set screw on the front. If I want something low and I can't get close enough with the set screw on the front, I take these two screws out, move this plate down a notch, and put the screws back in, tighten them back up. One thing I'm going to tell you with that is that when you put them back in, making sure that your laser is all squared and level, you want to make sure that this is level as well, because when you put it on, I noticed when I first put this on, this is a little bit cocked to one side. It's not exactly square, it's not level. I can see it tilting that way. So what you got to do is you need to loosen these up, put your level on the side, make sure it's level, and then tighten those back up, and then there you go. Now you're all level. And you're going to have to do that every time you need to adjust this, all right? Now the second thing it's talking about in step 4 is actually the smoothness of the gantry being able to move. So right now this is pretty stiff. It's not moving real easy. I have to push it, you know. Not real hard, but I mean, I got to put a little effort into pushing that. So what they want you to do in this step is they want you to tilt the laser at a 45-degree angle. So we're going to take that laser and we're going to tilt it up at a 45-degree angle. Now at this angle, that gantry should smoothly move straight to the back. All right. So that tells me that these bottom wheels, I know one of them seemed a little loose, or looser than the other, and this was the one that was feeling a little loose. So what I want to do is I want to come over here, and this bottom roller right here, I want to loosen that up a little bit. So this is where the open end wrench comes in. You're going to take it on I believe it's the 10 millimeter side. So I'm going to take that 10 millimeter right here, and what I want to do is I want to turn this clockwise just a little bit more, a little bit more. I'm making just little tiny adjustments here. Okay, so now see that? See how it just slips? All right, that's a little fast. So I'm gonna tighten it back up a little bit. So now, when I take this off, so it's nice and smooth, right? There's no catching, there's no stutter, there's no nothing. I can let go of this thing at a 45 and it's going to slide right back. All right? So that's what it's talking about with adjusting the eccentric nuts. All right, so that's in. Let's go ahead and get our laser module mounted. You notice that after I pulled it out and made sure there was no damage, I put it right in the bag and zip sealed that bag back up. It doesn't hurt if you have something metal around to go ahead, like the old days with the old computers, touch something metal, you know, if you're in a high static environment, to discharge any static electricity you have on you. I mean, it probably won't do anything, but you know, it never hurts. So now I'm going to take that module and these two grooves here, these grooves right here are going to fit right in here. So I'm going to mount that in. I can tighten that. So now all I have to do to adjust the height, depending on what I'm trying to engrave or cut or whatever, is just I'm going to hold on to the module, I'm going to unscrew that little knob, and I'm going to drop it down. And that actually touches my workbench, all right? And I can tighten it right there, and that's tight. So, I mean, so you have the ability to raise this thing up if you build a little platform for it. You can raise this thing up, lower the backing plate way down, and you can potentially engrave something that's really tall. So I'm going to loosen that back up. I'm going to bring it up here. What I'm going to do here, I want to make sure that it's square, okay? So if I know my backing plate is square and level, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to loosen this. I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to put a finger back here on the backing plate and then my thumb over here on this side, and I'm going to push that laser against this one rail. So, because right now, I can tighten this. If I move it a little bit, I can tighten it and it'll be crooked. But if I do it like that, I'm pulling here, pushing here, that whole laser is going to go over there, and it's going to be square if my backer is square. And I can just tighten that, and everything's square. So now I've got nice smooth movement. Okay. And those T-nuts actually serve as a stopper for the wheels in the back. If you didn't have those, I mean, this thing could actually go right off the back. So that's what those T-nuts are also serving our purpose for. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the next portion, and that is our wiring harness. So let's go ahead and get that cut. We're going to take the zip tie off of that. If you're using a knife, just be very careful you don't cut any of the wires. So we've got a whole bunch of plugs here. We've got 1, 2, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 plugs. So we got 5 plugs that we got to plug into this thing. So what we're going to do, excuse me. So number 1, man, the first plug is going to go on that little chip that's underneath that rail that we were so worried about, or I was so worried about when we were first putting it together. There is a plug there and that little button that you can push. So the very first plug is going to go there. So let's pick it up slowly, because now we know our gantry is going to move. And we are going to put this in here. Be very gentle. If it doesn't go, turn the plug over and go the other way. Like mine was just not going in. So there, very gently make sure that that is completely in place, and I'm going to set my laser back down. Okay, then our next one is going to go in our stepper motor over here. So we got, there's 2 plugs there. One's going on our stepper motor, and then one's going to another one of those chips that's like on the back side of this rail with a push button. So one's going there and one's going there. They're obviously 2 separate size plugs. So if you guys see this, 2 completely separate size plugs, a small one and a big one. So you can't really get those mixed up. So we're going to take that large one and we're going to plug it in. Then we're going to take our small one, and it actually goes on the back side, so we're going to pick the whole thing up. And we're going to get that plugged in right back here. Right there. It's clicked. Do not use a lot of force. If you have to force it, it's wrong. It clicked in, It's sturdy. I can tug on that wire a little bit. I'm not yanking on it, just tugging on it to make sure that it's seated well. That one's seated well. Now we've got 2 more. So when we look at our book, we got the ones for the gantry. Then we've got one that goes on the laser and the one on the stepper motor on the back. So those plugs, again, they're different sizes. Come on, zoom in, focus. So this one only has 4 holes and this one has 6 holes. So real easy to see, the top of the stepper motor has 6 holes. So we're gonna plug that one in there, where it has 6 pins. And then over here on the top of our laser, it has 4 pins, so we know that this one plugs in on top of the laser. Boom, that snapped in. All right, now here's another thing that I'm not a big fan of at this point. That plug is underneath. There's a little red, it's clear red acrylic cover on top of here. The plug's below that, so you can't actually get to it. You have to push that plug in by the wires. So not a big fan of that, but it actually went in. It went in pretty easy. I can tug on it a little bit and it's tight. That one's tight. This one's tight. This one's tight. And everything back here is tight. So that's it for that. That's nice and easy. Now it's saying that we're gonna take our controller right here. This is our touch screen, and we're going to take our HDMI cable. It is the same size on both ends, so nothing to worry there. We're going to plug our HDMI cable into our handheld, and then take the HDMI other end and plug it into the controller. Now, just figured that out. It is magnetic. The back of the controller is magnetic. So what's nice about this is you can take it, mount it right to the actual controller module. You can take that handheld off and hold it in your hand, and then you don't have to worry about letting it hang or setting it on the side. You just click it right there. So I like that. That's kind of fun. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our zip ties and we're gonna zip tie this thing. So one of the things that I did with Xtool, and I haven't changed it, but it's easy to do. I followed their instructions for actually doing the wiring harness, and it shows everything coming underneath and then back up and into the top of the laser module. The thing I don't like about that is when that laser turns on, you know, I use light burn and I have it set to go home every time it turns on. So when that thing turns on, it goes all the way back to this corner. Now when it goes to that corner, the way I have it wired with per Xtool, it's the wires on top of the laser module are very tight, and they're bent over and stretched. So what I would have done different is I would have ran those wires over the outside of the frame and come over the top of the unit and done that. So so we're gonna see how this thing's telling us to wire this thing or zip tie it, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so what I've done here is the wiring harness is going along the left side, all right? So what I wanna do is, like I was just talking about with the Xtool, I wanna make sure that when this thing is at its furthest point away where it has the most tension on the wiring harness, I want to make sure that I have slack. So in this case, in the X tool, it's all the way to the back left because they want the wiring harness on the right side. This one, the wiring harness is on the left. So I've taken the gantry and moved it all the way to the back right-hand side of the laser, okay? So now what I want to do is when I put my zip ties in here, I know this is the furthest it's going to get to where it's going to actually do any kind of stretching on that. All right, so I'm going to take that. I've got a little bit of slack right here. So these two holes right here on the front with this little vent in it, that's where I'm going to put my zip ties. So I'm going to take two little zip ties. Again, I'm going to make sure that I've got just a little bit of slack right there. So I got movement. I'm not worried right now about pinching anything or having any extra tension on those wires. Because if this thing goes bad, I don't want to wait a month for a wiring harness if I have an order I need to do. So I've tightened that first one. I've got some slack right here. So that's what we're looking for. We got a little slack. So then we'll go ahead and take our second one. We're going to put that in. You don't need to yank on these zip ties right here. These are very, very tiny. And if you're a big guy or a strong girl, yeah, you could easily just snap it off and now you're short of zip tie. So just watch out when you're doing that. And then we're going to take this back side here. So now we're moving it. I can put that head wherever I want, and I've got slack with no tension on those wires. So that's what I like about that. Okay, so this one, we're gonna go over here on this back side. There's a hole on the top on the back and a hole on the bottom of this plate on the back. That's where we're gonna zip tie this one. So we're gonna put a zip tie on the top. Making sure we don't have any other wires in there because there's that wire that goes around there to the back side. And we're gonna snug that up. Then we're gonna go to the bottom. Be very, very careful. And I messed up, so I'm going to cut that zip tie off. I need to make sure that that is tight because I ran out of space right there. See, okay, now I don't like that. I don't like this at all because if I make this as tight as I can, which is right there, now I'm pulling back on the laser, okay? So, but if my laser's all the way over and I put that wire tie right here and tighten it, I can't get the zip tie in the bottom one without putting pressure on this plug that's up front that I was so worried about putting the thing together to begin with. So I just did that and it kind of bent it forward a little bit. We don't want that. So I think all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up top here just like this. I'm gonna put one right here up at this top corner and we're gonna call that good. I mean, there's a ton of zip ties here, but again, this thing's, I mean, it's not long enough. I don't like that, but we'll just do it with one zip tie up top. I have the wire on top of the stepper motor. Now, I got full range of movement and I'm not pulling or tugging on any plugs or anything. I got slack on the plug under here. I got slack on the stepper motor here. I've got slack here. I've got slack here. And I've got some slack back here at this plug. So with that, Okay, that step is all done. So now what it's saying is we're going to take our backing plate that it comes with. We're going to go ahead and take that out of the plastic. Now, like I said, I mean, right on the front of that plastic that this thing came in, it says, take the protective cover off. So if you ever get real stainless steel, a sheet of it, it comes with this plastic protective cover. It's the exact same as the back side. Doesn't matter which side. If I take this off, there's no difference between this side and this side. I'm not going to take that off right now. I'm just going to use this side, okay? So I can set that down in there, and now we have a backer. So if we're gonna do any cutting of wood or anything, I have no honeycomb for this yet, but that's a backer for cutting. All right. So just like when you get the honeycomb for the X tool, you get a backer sheet with it, and that keeps it, when you got your spoil board down here and it's burned, that keeps you from burning through whatever you're burning through and messing up your spoil board and your grid. All right. So that's all that is. So we got that in. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take our little power module here. Goes right in the top where it says power. Then we have our little computer cord, which we already know is nothing fancy about it. It's just plain old computer cord you can get anywhere. Okay, so if it goes bad, easy to replace. We will plug that in. I've got to weld another box over here for this, but for now, I've got a power strip hanging up here. And we can plug it in there. Then, we have a USB cord. Now, for right now, I'm going to go ahead and use this until I grab my other 10-footer. I'm going to plug it in there. And I'm going to plug it into my laptop. Okay, so we have everything plugged in. We've gone through the whole setup process with this. It really was not that hard. The whole thing, if I wasn't stopping to explain, probably would have taken me about 25 minutes, maybe a half hour. I mean, it was pretty basic. Trying to decipher a little bit of their horrible translations and their really tiny pictures that made me put on my old man glasses. Other than that, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's not very hard at all. So we've got our cord plugged into our computer, which we're not even going to burn anything today. I will be doing another video. I'm going to do a series of videos on this with some test projects and everything with the A5 M50 Pro from Atomstack. But I'm not going to use it. I just plugged it in anyway. Our power is plugged in. We got our power supply is plugged into our power strip. All we got to do is hit the power button and turn it on. And I guess now is where we see if I screwed something up or if something's wrong with the laser. And ooh, comes on. That's a good sign. We got some words coming across our screen. And it is a touch screen, which is fantastic. You can change your settings, so touch tone, about, it tells you the machine size right here, which is it's 410 by 400. So that gives you the exact size of something that you can actually engrave or cut or carve on this machine. Is 410 by 400. That's the biggest size you can cut with no extension rails. I'm not even sure if they have extension rails for this or not. So we can go back, we can turn our touch tone down. That's really all you can do. You go to carve, Now, the nice thing about the A5 M50 Pro is that it does have offline capability. So if you go out to a show or a craft fair or something like that, you want to take your laser with you, but you don't want to take your laptop for some reason, right on top of this thing, there is a card reader. So you can take a little card, just one of those little cards like you put in a camera, okay? You slide that in there, it'll recognize that card, and from what I understand, you should be able to go to that file and just put whatever you're gonna cut or burn or engrave, whatever, in there, select that file, and it will burn it with no computer, which I think is kind of cool, you know? I mean, it can come in handy, you never know. You go out to a show and you forgot to bring the charger for your laptop, and your laptop dies. Well, now you can just have a card you can put in right in the top and do it from there. So with that, guys, I think that's gonna be it for this video. We got it all set up. If you guys have any problems with your A5 M50 Pro, getting it set up, or something's not fitting right, hit me up in the comments. If you guys are looking at getting your first laser, this laser is not actually that expensive. It's only a 5 watt. I mean, it has limitations. Every laser has its limitations. It's a diode, blue diode, so you're not going to cut clear acrylic. You're going to have issues with some other colors as far as cutting them. But if you want to engrave some pictures on some wood, or you want to engrave some tumblers, things like that, 5 watt can do it. And it's cheaper than the 10 watt or 20 watt, or if they come out with a 30 watt here before too long, somebody is. The nice thing about it is it's very inexpensive to get started. The 5 watt is going to take a little longer to do the work of a 10 watt. 10 watt takes longer to do than what a 20 watt can do. Obviously, the more powerful, the faster it'll go. But if you are looking to get started in laser engraving, we're going to test this machine out, and you guys are going to find out with me if this thing's worth the money you spent on it. All right? You guys have a great day. Remember, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. Hit the like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good day.